How's it going, everyone? It is that time of the week. It is time for another Green Bay Packers 7-round mock draft. This will be version 6.0, and an Aaron Rodgers trade has not officially happened yet. But there was some news earlier this week. I put out a video on it, what the compensation is kind of setting out to be. And it's not the best, but obviously this trade isn't official yet. But for this mock draft, we're going to go by that compensation. And right now it is being reported that the Green Bay Packers will receive a second round this year, a second round next year. That's conditional. That could turn into a first depending on how well the Jets do. And then some of the things the Jets want back is a conditional 2025 pick in case Rodgers doesn't return in 2024. Now, obviously, the last two, they don't matter too much to a mock draft, but for the sake of the trade, we're going to add it in this mock as well. So I talked a little bit about it in that video. I would be slightly disappointed if they only got one pick this year. Yeah, you're building for the future with Jordan Love and getting future picks, especially a second next year that could turn into a first if the Jets do well with Aaron Rodgers, which they likely would. That's great, but I feel like you should at least get 2 picks this year. Now, I would really love those 2 second-round picks the Jets currently have, but I highly doubt they'll be willing to give up those 2. So maybe try to get a 4th snuck into there. But just for this mock draft, we're going to keep it just as the report is, at least until we hear something furthermore. All right, so let's waste no more time and get right into this draft screen. And I have the trade set up here. So in the Green Bay Packers side, we're giving up Aaron Rodgers and a conditional 2025 pick. I have it as a 4th round, and that's a condition. If Aaron Rodgers comes back in 2024, we keep that pick. If he retires after next year, that pick goes to the New York Jets. I understand their worry there after him going on the Pat McAfee show and saying he was 90% going to retire, going to the darkness retreat. Then obviously he's not. So that's kind of them worrying, is he even going to play more than 1 year? So I get that on their regard there. Then on the Jets side, we're getting pick 42 from Cleveland. I'd rather have that than 43, obviously. And then a conditional in 2024 that can turn into a first round, say if the Jets make the AFC Championship or something like that. Obviously, those conditions aren't released yet because the trade hasn't happened, but I'm assuming if it was one, that's what it's going to be. So if we send that trade, it is accepted. Now, the Packers could still get a player from the Jets. That might not be reported yet because the Jets and Packers haven't came to agreement, so you're not going to be talking about, players that technically are still on your team. I mean, the Jets are technically doing this with Aaron Rodgers when he's not under contract, but hey, I digress. The Packers could maybe get someone like Denzel Mims or a Jordan Whitehead or Jeremy Ruckert at tight end. There's a plethora of players on the Jets the Packers could probably secure in that deal, but for the sake of the trade not happening yet, I'm not going to include any of them. All right, so now with the draft underway, let's go over the first 14 picks until we're on the clock here at 15. Bryce Young goes at number 1 to the Panthers. Anthony Richardson, the second quarterback, off the board to the Texans. Jalen Carter to the Cardinals. C.J. Stroud to the Colts. Will Anderson to the Seahawks. Tyree Wilson to the Lions here. Will Levis to the Raiders. Christian Gonzalez to the Falcons. Peter Skoronski to the Bears. JSN to the Eagles. Quentin Johnston to the Titans here. Broderick Jones to the Texans. Joey Porter Jr. to the Jets. And Miles Murphy to the Patriots. So now we are on the clock at 15, and easily BPA right now would be Devin Witherspoon here at pick 15, which I do really like. Kalijah Cansey's on the board, Brian Branch, LVN, Dalton Kincaid, Deontay Banks, Paris Johnson. Actually, a lot of good players on the board right now for sitting at 15. So as I said, I think the BPA right now is Devin Witherspoon, and if you're drafting like the Packers, a lot of times they do pick BPA, and I don't think cornerback early is that much of a stretch. I don't think they're going to move Rasul Douglas back to safety. I think Matt LaFleur said that's not their look with them. They're actually trying to move him outside, again, instead of playing in the slot like he did last year. They do have Jair Alexander still, but they did give an update on Eric Stokes and that he might not even be ready to start this season. So that's definitely a big question mark there. I do believe in Keyshawn Nixon coming in and playing the slot as needed, but I think adding someone like Devin Witherspoon, who's another lockdown outside cornerback, imagine having him and Jair Alexander on the same defense that's in the cornerback room. And then you can have, Devin Witherspoon and Rasul Douglas on the outside and Jair in the slot, locking down the best wide receiver, maybe following him around. Say if it's Justin Jefferson, you follow him from the outside to the slot like they did in that second game, and it worked wonderfully. And I think adding someone like Devin Witherspoon, who I think is the best cornerback in this draft class, we see Gonzalez went here at 8. But I have Witherspoon over him. He didn't test in Indy at the Combine, but he didn't need to. I mean, he was easily the best cornerback in the nation. So I think getting him here at 15 would be an absolute steal. I see this guy going top 12 easy. We see here a 92.0 grade in 2022, a 92.5 coverage grade, 78.6 run defense grade, only allowed 35.5% completion percentage, which is easily the best. He had 18 forced incompletions, which was tied for second. He allowed 22 receptions, 206 yards, 0 touchdowns, had 3 interceptions, and allowed a passer rating of 25.3. And as we see here, he is an outside corner, 614 snaps on the outside, 109 in the slot. So a little bit of versatility. Like, you could put him in the slot if you need to, but you want this guy to be your outside corner. What's his role? Island, number 1 cornerback, where he wins, processing speed, where he can improve his penalties. That's interesting because, you know, I guess it depends on the ref crew that you have. Some refs let you play more physical, some don't. So I think it really depends on that there. And bottom line here, first round, Witherspoon may not have an elite physical skill set for the position, but his senior year tape was as good as we've seen in our 9 years of college grading. So that says a lot. This dude had an exceptional year last year. I think he's the best cornerback in the class, and I just love the thought of pairing him up with Jair Alexander. You know, Rasul Douglas is getting older. Eric Stokes, big question mark there. And I do think Eric Stokes will bounce back once he is healthy, whenever that is. But again, I just can't get past the thought of pairing up Jair with Devin Witherspoon here. So this is BPA, not necessarily a gigantic need, but like I said, I don't see it is much of a surprise if the Packers go out and draft a cornerback early in this draft. So here at pick 15, we are going Devin Witherspoon, cornerback out of Illinois. Here at pick 42, there is a player on the board, again, kind of BPA in this situation. That is Josh Downs, someone that I haven't really looked into too much, just based on the fact of his height and size and how that kind of goes against the Green Bay Packers, what they usually draft. But I feel like they might change some things up based on the new offense they're kind of making under Jordan Love, and maybe they don't have those restrictions anymore, where you need a receiver to be 6'1" and 200 plus pounds. You know, the last receiver they drafted under 6 foot with Aaron Rodgers, and yeah, that didn't work too well. But the Packers, like I say, in every mock draft, have a desperate need at slot, and Josh Downs, outside of JSN, is probably the second. You know, he's probably the second best slot receiver in this draft class. I think JSN's number 1, but I think Josh Downs is number 2. Jalen Hyatt's up there as well, but I think Josh Downs kind of gives you more production. Obviously, you know, over his career, we see here 1,335 yards in 2021 and 1,000 last year. 11 touchdowns this year, 8 touchdowns last year, 94 receptions this year, 101 receptions last year, 92.1 grade versus man coverage. So this dude can separate. A really good 72.2 contested catch rate, surprising for his size. Really low 3.1% drop rate. Dude has soft hands, doesn't drop the ball. An 86.5 receiving grade. And this guy is just a certified slot wide receiver, and that's what he will be in the NFL. 864 slot yards, which is 12th, and slot catches 78, which is 8th. You know, like I said, he's small and he doesn't have that blazing speed, but he has that quick twitch route running ability. Only ran a 4.48 40, and I say only, but he's not crazy fast, what you would expect from someone who's 5'9", 171. But like I said, this guy is a certified slot wide receiver, and the Packers do need that. So on this pick, it is BPA. I like Josh Downs. I thought of him in the Packers offense with Jordan Love as a pure slot wide receiver in this offense. Will the Packers necessarily draft a receiver this small? It is a sight to be seen. We'll see exactly what happens, but here at 42, he's easily the BPA here. So I'm going Josh Downs, wide receiver out of North Carolina. So here at pick 45, there's a lot of players on the board. If I drop down in a trade a little bit, I think at least one of those guys will still be on the board here. And I'm going to trade with the Chicago Bears. You know, it's fine. It happens from time to time. So I'm going to try to get pick 53, 61, and 103, giving up 45 and 78. So we're moving down, 8 spots there, but we're moving up, 17 slots from 78 to 61 and picking up 103. It has a 50% chance to get accepted. So I'm going to offer this, and if it doesn't go through, I'll have to obviously give a little bit more. And they accept it, so I don't even have to give up a little bit more. The Bears are going to be the Bears. They don't tend to get great value in trades anyways, so I'm going to go ahead and resume this and get to our pick. Of course, right after I make fun of them, they draft a guy I liked in Luke Musgrave, and then Sam Laporta and Darnell Washington both go to the NFC as well. Washington to the Lions. Those are all 3 guys I was looking at. I wanted to grab a tight end here, so trading down, at the time looked like a great idea. And even though going down 8 spots, I didn't think 3 tight ends would go in those 8 spots, but that's exactly what happened. So, it happened. I'll have to get a tight end a little bit later in this draft. It's a big need for the Green Bay Packers. I wanted to hit it here in the second round because that's what I think the Packers will do. But sometimes the draft doesn't fall that way. Could have grabbed my guy right at 45, Luke Musgrave, who I liked, or Darnell Washington, who I also like and draft a lot. But I want to change things up a little bit because I always grab Darnell Washington in these mocks. So here at pick 53, I definitely want to address the edge position here, and there's a lot of players on the board. Andre Carter being one of them, who's really fallen a lot. I feel like this guy was going in the first round when mock drafts really started this year. Now he's falling a lot. A lot of people are concerned what he'll be at the next level. I'm one of those. I'm not crazy high on Andre Carter. I don't see him as second rounder, maybe a third rounder there. Carl Brooks, more of 3-4 defensive lineman there. Nick Herbig, don't really know where he fits. He could be a weak side linebacker. He could be an edge rusher. Not really sure. But the player out of all these that I like the most is Isaiah Foskey from Notre Dame. And I drafted him, I think, in one of my mock drafts before. And he's been rising up a bit. I remember he used to be like kind of third or fourth rounder in mock drafts, and now he's all the way up here in the second round. And I really like him just due to the production he's had the last 2 years. 12 sacks last year, 11 sacks the year before, 72.3 grade this year, and 80.7 grade last year. A 14.9% pass rush win rate, and a pass rush grade of 74.0. The Packers have a needed edge. I say it every time. Who knows when Rashawn Gary will be back. I really like Kingsley Enagbare. But adding another guy here early in the draft and maybe even getting a free agent, I think is ideal for the Packers. You got to rush the passer. You got to get home at the quarterback, and that'll make life a lot easier on defense. So here at pick 53, I'm going Isaiah Foskey, edge from Notre Dame. We're back on the clock at 61 here in the second round, and I read an interesting thing today. I knew the Packers usually draft offensive linemen in the draft a lot, but it's been 22 out of the last 23 years that they've drafted at least one offensive lineman. So the Packers always load up at O-line, and someone who they've met with twice now is Cody Mauch from North Dakota State. Guy can play right tackle, can play left tackle, and this had a tremendous 3 years here at North Dakota State. A 91.8 grade this year, an 88.9 grade last year, and has allowed 3 total sacks in the last 3 years in 38 games. He's allowed 3 total sacks. Dude's been a really good pass blocker and a tremendous run blocker as well. 91.2 run block grade, 81.8 pass block grade. This guy screams Green Bay Packer. I'm going to put a picture of him up on the screen here. I mean, that guy, he's already wearing green and gold, and he just screams Green Bay Packer. And I do like the thought of the Packers adding a tackle early. Who knows what the future at tackle is for the Packers. Zach Tom, is he going to stay a tackle? Josh Nijman, is this his last year as a Packer? Because, are they going to be able to pay for him? Dave Bakhtiari, I think, is here to stay at least the next 2 years. So I think Cody Mauch could be a nice transition tackle, a right tackle of the future, or even left tackle of the future, and just in general, to have another guy in that room. So here at pick 61, I'm going Cody Mauch, tackle out of North Dakota State. Here at pick 80, I'm going to try to trade up with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm going to be giving away a future pick just because, we have that second from the Jets next year. And I normally don't do this in mock drafts, but considering I included the future year picks in this mock with the Jets, I'm going to do it because I think it's worth it to go up. And I know it's the third round, and I'm going to draft a tight end here. And I know there's not a great history in the third round for tight ends in Green Bay Packers. It's just in the third round in general. But I'm going to do it anyways. Something's got to give, right? So I'm going to try to get pick 80 and pick 120, giving 103 and the third round, and adding pick 235 because they had to decline my first one, obviously, and they go ahead and accept it. And if I go ahead and sort it by tight end, the player I do want here is Tucker Kraft from South Dakota State. Going over to his RAS, he's one of the best athletic tight ends in this class. 6'4.5", 254 pounds, 23 bench reps here, and a 4.69 40. Has a good agility grade, a great explosion grade with 34-inch vertical and a 10-foot 2 broad jump. So if I go back to here, not crazy production last year, 348 yards, but was hurt some of the games, only played 9 games and 3 touchdowns. The year before that, 770 yards and 6 touchdowns on the 15 games, an 85.0 grade. Only 2 drops last year, a 76.6 receiving grade. I like Tucker Kraft in this round because, the tight ends I wanted are already gone. I also like Schoonmaker and Zach Kuntz, but those are kind of a little bit later, which we could double dip and get another tight end, of course, as well. But I really wanted to address tight end. The Packers tight end room is so thin. I made a video yesterday about free agents, and I was just talking about the tight end room and how thin it is, and just pretty much only the player in there that has had NFL snaps is Josiah DeGuara. And me saying that, I honestly forgot about Tyler Davis, but that guy's not going to contribute on offense, or at least he shouldn't. The guy is a special teamer, and really it is just Josiah DeGuara. So it might be the weakest position on the Green Bay Packers roster. So I think even, addressing it round 3 might be a little bit too late even. But obviously we saw what happened with all the 3 other tight ends I liked in the second round there. So I'm going to trade up. I'm going to get a tight end. I know it's a third round, and I know it's a tight end in the third, and that usually doesn't sit well. But I'm going to go Tucker Kraft here, tight end, South Dakota State at pick 80. Now we're in the 4th round, and we have 2 picks close together, 116 and 120, and I'm going to address the trenches again, but on the defensive side, and I really like Kobe Turner. He's someone I was looking at in a couple of the mocks I did on my own here. I mean, just look at these grades over the past 3 years. The Packers have a needed defensive line with, Jarron Reed signing with the Seahawks, Dean Lowry signing with the Vikings. They don't really have good depth at all there. So getting a defensive lineman in the first 4 rounds, I think, is a must. Really insane pass rush win rate here for defensive linemen, 14.7%, 88.8 pass rush grade, an insane 93.1 run defense grade, 3 sacks this year, 5 sacks the year before that. He fits right in as a 3-tech for the Green Bay Packers, 6'3", 290 pounds. So I really like the idea of him on the defensive line, adding him into the group with TJ Slayton, Devontae White, and of course Kenny Clark. So at 116, we are going Kobe Turner, defensive lineman out of Wake Forest. And at pick 120, I'm going to finally address the safety position. They brought in Tarvarius Moore. They re-signed Rudy Ford. I think they're kind of comfortable with Darnell Savage. They don't really have an option, to be honest, but they said his natural position is safety. That's what Matt LaFleur said in his recent presser, so they're going to not play him at slot or move him around too much. They're going to let him play safety, which honestly I thought he looked better in the slot in that star role than he did safety last year, but who knows, maybe they're switching some things up. So they have 3 safeties that, potentially could start, and they still need to add another, and they could even add another in free agency as well. But I really like Ronnie Hickman here at pick 120. I think this guy is a steal in the 4th round. I just really like him in general. 20% force and completion rate, 88.9 coverage grade. He can be your deep safety and a box safety, 203 snaps deep, 379 in the box, could even play some slot. This guy's very versatile, 39 tackles this year, and 11 missed. Last year, even more tackles, 79 total tackles, and just 15 missed. Like I said, I think he's excellent value here in the 4th round. The Packers usually get some real nice gems in the 4th round. I think Ronnie Hickman could be one of them. So pick here at 120. We are addressing safety. We're going Ronnie Hickman, safety from Ohio State. We're on the clock here at 149, and of course the Bears did it again. I wanted Andre Iosivas. I got him in the last draft. I like adding him to a wide receiver room after getting a slot receiver early, and the Bears did it again. Of course they do, just like they did earlier with Luke Musgrave. So now we're going to see who else we should get. So since they took Iosivas, I'm going to go for the next best thing, and that's going to be Bryce Ford Wheaton, kind of a similar player there, tall, burner, deep threat type outside wide receiver. I've drafted him in, I think, 1 or 2 mock drafts before. 675 yards last year, 7 touchdowns, 575 the year before with 3 touchdowns. So nothing crazy on the production side, but you're kind of drafting him because of the size, the speed, and the athleticism. If we go ahead and look at his RAS, 9.97. So I know some people are always like, why are you always looking at the RAS? It's because that's how Gutekunst drafts. He has been asked about RAS, and he acts like he doesn't know what it is. But even if he doesn't know what RAS is, this is still, a similar thing to what it would be if you're just looking at athletes. Like, this means a person is an athlete regardless, even if you don't know what the actual measurement RAS is. This guy's still a tremendous athlete. 6'3", almost 6'4", 221 pounds, a 4.38 40. Really good 20-yard split, really good 10-yard split. Insane explosion grade. 41-inch vertical at almost 6'4" is absolutely ridiculous. 10-foot 9-inch broad jump. This dude is off the charts every level of athleticism. So you're kind of buying the potential here at wide receiver in the 5th round. I think that's a low risk, high reward. I mean, look what the Packers did with MVS in the 5th round years ago. So very similar pick here. Honestly, Bryce Ford Wheaton, that MVS is, and he even has a hyphenated last name. So we're going to go Bryce Ford Wheaton, wide receiver, West Virginia here at pick 149. Our next pick in the 5th round at 170, I think I'm going to address tight end yet again. The Packers could easily add 2 tight ends in this draft. We already got Tucker Kraft, which is more of that receiving threat type tight end. Davis Allen, also a nice receiving threat. Not a burner by any means. This dude is pretty slow, nothing crazy fast, but he's a good all-around tight end, a guy you could use in the red zone. He actually has a really nice RAS considering his pretty horrible 40-yard time, 4.84. Really bad 40, right? But it's still an 8.98 RAS. He's 6'5", almost 6'6", with a 38.5-inch vertical, 10-foot 5 broad jump. This dude could easily be a red zone threat, short yardage situation tight end. So getting someone like Tucker Kraft and Davis Allen, I think, would complement each other really well in that tight end room. He had 443 yards last year and 5 touchdowns, a 91.7% contested catch rate. I think that's the highest I've seen here on PFF. So that says something for this dude with a ball in the air. He's going to go get it. So we're going to go Davis Allen here at 170. I think it's tremendous value, tight end from Clemson. Now we have our 3 picks in the 7th round. I think the Packers will address quarterback in this draft. I don't know if it's going to be any higher than the 5th round unless someone like Hendon Hooker really falls and they decide they want to go him, say, in the 4th round or 5th round. I think they're going to wait till the 7th round, and there is some talent up here. I mean, Aiden O'Connell, Malik Cunningham, Dorian Thompson Robinson, Max Duggan, but Clayton Tune is the guy I'm going to go here. Just had a really good season last year, and even in 2021, but even better in 2022. A 92.0 grade. A 67.1 completion percentage. He had 333 completions for 4,065 yards, 40 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 110.7 quarterback rating there. And last year, 30 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and 107. I'm very interested to see what the Packers do with backup quarterback, whether they just go with someone like Clayton Tune or someone like that in the draft, or if they bring in a veteran, say Teddy Bridgewater, Matt Ryan, someone of that sort. So at pick 232, we are going Clayton Tune, quarterback out of Houston. For our second to last pick, we're going to go running back here, Travis Dye. I would have liked to get a running back a little bit earlier, but with the way the draft fell, other players fell more than running back here. So Travis Dye, honestly, I think is good value in the 7th round. You know, a lot of production the last 2 years, almost 900 yards this year, 1,263 yards last year, 9 touchdowns this year, 16 total rushing touchdowns last year, and is a good receiving threat. 21 receptions for 202 yards this year, and last year 47 receptions for 398 yards. The Packers still have Tyler Goodson, who I think could easily be that 3rd running back, but we're going to bring some competition into the room, and we're going to draft Travis Dye, halfback out of USC here at 242. Then for our last pick, we're going to go kicker Jake Moody. The Packers said they're not fully closing the door on Mason Crosby. They never would, but financially it just isn't really working right now for them to bring him back. So it seems like for the first time in a long time that the Packers are going to have a new kicker. And you know, if they go ahead and draft Jake Moody in the 7th, I'm comfortable going into 2023 with him at kicker. And I think it would be, you know, tremendous value here in the 7th round. So we're going Jake Moody, kicker out of Michigan with our last pick. All right, so that does it for our Green Bay Packers 7-round mock draft version 6.0. We are getting closer and closer to the real draft. We are just under 1 month away. So let's quickly go over our picks. We see Devin Witherspoon fell to 15. I think that's tremendous value. That's BPA. That's run the card up, even though the Packers don't have a tremendous need at cornerback. Getting a guy like that in the building, no, you don't lose doing that, right? Then Josh Downs in the 2nd round, another BPA guy that fell. Haven't drafted him yet in a mock, little small. Don't know if the Packers are necessarily going to have him on their board, but you know, he's a tremendous slot receiver, and I think he's going to do really well in the NFL as a slot receiver, and the Packers need that. Our trade with Aaron Rodgers, we talked about that earlier. Isaiah Foskey here in our 2nd pick in the 2nd round here, an edge player that I really like. A lot of production the last 2 years. The Packers have a big need at edge. We traded with the Bears. We traded down. I was trying to trade down and grab one of the tight ends, and then they all went in the next 8 picks. So then we selected Cody Mauch. I don't care about that D grade. I think this is good value here in the 2nd round. Grades mean nothing right after you draft a player. And Cody Mauch screens Green Bay Packer. And as I said earlier, the last 22 of 23 drafts, the Packers have selected a lineman there. So we're going Cody Mauch here in the 2nd round. Tucker Kraft in the 3rd round. I know it's a tight end. I know it's a 3rd round, and it's just, you know, makes you cringe just thinking about it. But I really do like Tucker Kraft, so I did actually trade up to even so to do that. In the 4th round, we go Kobe Turner. Packers have a need at defensive line, not real much depth there, and I think Kobe Turner would be great depth at defensive line. In the 4th round, we go Ronnie Hickman. Waited a little longer than I would have liked for safety, but I think the value is tremendous there in the 4th for Ronnie Hickman. Very versatile safety, good cover guy. In the 5th round, we go Bryce Ford Wheaton, an extreme athlete, 6'4", crazy vertical, crazy 40-yard dash, just an outside receiver, a burner. Adding him and Josh Downs, a pure slot guy, I think would be nice. Davis Allen in the 5th round, a not fast, but possession, all-around tight end, red zone threat. Dude will go up and get the ball. Not going to wow you with his athleticism, but I think adding 2 tight ends in this draft would be good. Clayton Tune in the 7th round, a ton of production at Houston in the last 2 years. The Packers have a need at backup quarterback. Travis Dye in the 7th round just to bring some competition into the running back room. He's a runner. He's a receiver. And then Jake Moody to round things out in the 7th round with our last pick, because I don't see Mason Crosby coming back, and the Packers have a need at kicker. So that does it for this mock draft. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. I like this mock draft. I think it hits a lot of needs, but also I drafted a lot of BPA, which the Packers tend to do a lot. So I want to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. But I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Pack Go.